Alright guys, today we're going to be doing a helmet breakdown on how I run my setup. Been running this one for quite a while. I'm going to go through what all the different components and products are on here and why everything is set up the way it is. As always, if you guys got any questions, leave them down in the comments. We love to discuss gear. So we'll go front to back on this. First of all, starting with the core of the helmet. This is a Ops Core Fast SF, size large. Pretty common bucket that's used by a lot of guys in the military and civilian and law enforcement. It's pretty lightweight, offers good ballistic protection, and is high cut, which most guys like these days because it allows you to run integrated comms. On the front here, we've got a Wilcox G24 mount. This is pretty much the gold standard of night vision mounting these days. I run PVS 31 alphas on here and have never had any issues. As you all can see, I paint pretty much everything on my helmet. So the helmet's painted, the ear pro's painted, and the G24 is painted. Some guys seem to be afraid to paint their Wilcox mounts, thinking that's going to cause issues with the function, but I've never had an issue, so go ahead and paint up your stuff. Moving on to lighting, this helmet's got two different lights on it, a task light on this side and a higher power one here. The reason I do that is I've realized that having two different lights is worth the trade-off in weight for me. I don't know the exact weight of this Princeton Tech light, but it's really light and runs off either a AA or 123. This is their charge model. I've run a couple different variations of this. They offer different light heads that do everything from blue to green to white to red to IR. This particular model is set up where it'll go to red at first and then offers different power settings for IR. I like to use this one as a task light, so map reading, taking notes, looking around stuff in a truck. It's just nice to have a low power red light, easily accessible, and then I can change the angle as needed. These have lasted a long time for me through rain, salt water, all sorts of environmental conditions, and never had an issue, so big fan. On this side, we've got a SureFire 340 Vampire light. You guys are probably familiar with these. They're very popular also as weapons lights. This light's really high power and lets me go through either high and low on white, or I can change the cap and bring it over to IR. This mount here is a theorem mount, and what this lets me do is rotate the light so I can put it up for halo lighting to go off of the ceiling in a building to basically cast a shadow or light over the area that I'm working, but I can also angle it down for dealing with a weapon, a casualty, whatever it may be. This offers me good flexibility. I will say that the S&S Precision Max mount is probably the gold standard for light mounts for taking a SureFire light. I've run them in the past. This is what I have available to me right now, but if you're looking for something that's a little more spendy but is the absolute best in class, I would say it's the S&S. This helmet cover is an Orion Design Group helmet cover. It's one of the OGs of helmet covers. You'll see some of our other setups running Ops Core helmet covers, and there's a bunch of companies out there, but I like this ODG one. It's got really excellent cable management built into the sides of it, and my favorite thing is that it's got this retainer over here that I can put over my strobe. In this case, it's an S&S Manta strobe. On the sides, I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and we'll definitely break this down more, but these are Ops Core amps. Right now, you essentially have Peltor Comtac 6s and Ops Core amps as kind of the two best in class for hearing protection. The amps typically run on the fold-out arms that you guys have seen, but I had issues with those. They're great for maintaining positive pressure, and they mount back here, so it frees up all your rail space for lighting or whatever else you're running. But the issue is that there's no pop out. And so as most people know that have used Peltors before, they have two settings. So you click in for positive pressure on your head, and then you can just simply pop these out. And what this allows me to do, and the reason I switched over to this, is I can pop these out when I'm patrolling or whatever else is going on. I can still hear radio traffic, but I'm allowing myself to cool off. There's also times where you just want to listen to environmental sounds not amplified by what the hearing protection does. And so I'll just pop these out. I can still rotate them back to the side if I need to, but that ability is worth it to me. The way this is set up is these are just your standard Peltor mounts. You can also use Unity tactical ones for this. And there's an adapter here made by a small company called Sovereign Solutions. And what this allows is me to take this full Peltor mount, use this piece of thermoplastic, and then attach my OpsCore amps to them. Really cool product, super affordable. And what I had done before was I just literally ripped off these arms from the headband for my amps, jammed them on here with some Gorilla Glue, and it worked okay, but definitely wasn't ideal. So huge fan of these. Now talking about comms and cable management just a little bit more here. What I see a lot of guys do, and this is actually the way that OpsCore tells you to run your EarPro, is to take the cable that connects the two headsets and run it around the back of the helmet. And they actually make little clip-on mounts if you use the arms that pop out, and then you can run them underneath the straps on the back of your helmet and Velcro them down. So that's how you're instructed to do it. But it violates rule number 1, always look cool, and 2, it presents a snag hazard. And so what I've done for a long time and shown a lot of other guys to do is run that cable on the inside of your helmet. The way that these cables are designed, and this also works for Peltors, they are long enough that you can run your cable on the inside of your helmet, fully articulate your EarPro to the back, and have no issues. The way I did that is I threaded it underneath this plastic band, and then I put just a little bit of tape down in the bottom of the helmet, and this allows that cable to stay down there. It's not a snag hazard now, stays out of the way, and again, does not violate rule number 1. The last thing on the amps is the ear cups. So these are Noise Fighter Insights. I really like gel ear cups. The ones that the OpsCores come with really don't seal out sound as well as I'd like, and they get super, super hot. These ear cups are a lot more comfortable, but what I really like about these sight lines is they've got this little indentation that you might see here, and what this allows you to do is put your iPro on top of it. So if you've ever worn EarPro and iPro for a long time, you'll know you'll get that pressure on the side of your head, give you a headache or make your ears super uncomfortable, but they slot in really nicely here. Can't recommend these enough. As you guys can tell, there's a ton of modifications to the amp system, and we get the question pretty often, do you like amps or Peltors? My honest answer, I think best in class right now is the Peltor Comtac 6. I think it's the best that's out there, but if you're like me and this is what you got for work, the OpsCore amps are a great EarPro, and as long as you make some modifications to make them work for you, you're not going to have any issues. And then while we're talking about helmets, there's something that I think is worth discussing. So I like to wear a headband underneath my helmet. This is just one from Junk Brand. They're pretty cheap and comfortable. A lot of guys like to do this, but if you wear a helmet for a long time, these pads will absorb a ton of sweat and it'll start running down your eyes, which is uncomfortable and pretty gross. Also, most helmet pads get pretty nasty, so I really recommend just wearing a simple headband underneath. I think you'll find it's a lot more comfortable and probably hygienic. And then talking iPro, again, something we get questions about. There are a lot of great ones out there. These are the Gator Marauders. I like these ones because they have a super thin side wing right here that fits really nicely with those sight lines from Noise Fighters, those gel cups I was talking about. There are a lot of good options. A lot of guys like the Oakley, iPro, ESS. There's a bunch of good ones out there. But the reason I've come to really love these Gators is these are transition lenses that are ballistic rated. So they carry the ANSI 87 mil-spec ballistic rating, and they're clear lens right now because we're inside, but they transition outside to a light tint. Not as dark as most sunglasses, which in my experience you don't really need, but these go from dark to light extremely fast. So if you're outside in a convoy and then you're going inside to a house, these will clear up really quickly. They also don't fog up very much, and they're super comfortable, so definitely something that I'd recommend. Moving to the back of the helmet now. This is our Forge Concepts Night Vision battery pack retainer. This first came about with a unit reaching out to us that they wanted to have a night vision battery pack retainer that didn't have a bunch of exposed Tegris and was a low profile and could integrate with counterweights. So we've gone through about 2 years of design and testing on this to get it exactly dialed in. This is the lightest solution on the market and works with pretty much every helmet and configuration out there. It mounts with these laser cut laminate tabs here right through the screws that hold in your arc rails, but you can also run it through holes or attach it directly if you're using like an ACH modified or something like that. It uses a piece of elastic on the side, so this will fit every battery pack out there. In this case, this is one for 31 alphas. Again, spray painted like everything else on this helmet. On the side, I have some excess cable, because these cables are longer than you need, managed in the elastic. And the other thing I like about this is it puts positive pressure on this Fisher connector and actually keeps it connected to my helmet and into the battery pack. These are notorious for popping out, and this positive pressure, since I switched over to using this, I've never had one come out. You can see from there, my cable then runs up the side and is zip tied to the rail, runs underneath the helmet cover, and then when I don't have nods on, it's stowed like this, so it's out of my way. And when I have nods, all I'll do, this cable will be out here, I'll run it underneath the retaining elastic so it's not a snag hazard, plug into the side of my night vision. Thinking about snag hazards and cable management is super important for helmets. I'll see guys run their cable over the top and it's just out there dangling, or they won't have their excess cable managed. And if you're snagged your head on a tree branch or coming out of a truck or a helicopter, you'll know how important it is to have everything managed. On the back, this battery pack also acts as a strobe, which a lot of people know, but this is your strobe right here. And so I can articulate this switch to turn a strobe on right now or to turn it off. I like this S&S Precision Manta strobe more because it gives me a vibration when I actually turn it on, so I can know if I'm actually on or not without having someone else have to look at my head. And this does IR and color as well. And then talking patches really quick. So there's lots of different SOPs out there, but I like to run my call sign patch on the back of the helmet. Makes it easy for guys to see. Of course, an American flag. And then over here, got this Clint Eastwood shooting a SIG, courtesy of Black Canyon Systems. And lastly, and I know I'm going to get questions about this, so why do I have tape on the top of my helmet? This is Gorilla Tape. You guys will see this probably on the internet and wonder what it is, but this is just some extra strips of tape for breaching. So if you've got a wet door or something that's really dusty, charge doesn't stick, whatever the reason may be, you can just rip all of this off and then separate these strips. All I did was fold over some tabs, and it gives me something that I can stick a charge on with. So that's why guys do that. There's other methods. Guys will stick them on their holsters, but this works. Pretty simple, cheap, and nothing too fancy. So again, if you got any questions, hit us up in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. There's lots of different ways to run your helmet setups, but this is the one that I feel the most dialed in with. It balances out well. And then again, I really like this Ear Pro setup with the amps run off the Peltor arms. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.